God says the enemy is trying to block your miracle right now. This urgent message has tried to reach you 3 times, but something kept getting in the way. Don't scroll past this, you need to hear it. Chosen one, this emergency message you're seeing now isn't a mistake. It's not a mistake. This message tried 3 times this week to reach you, but something stopped each time. You can only hear it now, because a higher power finally made the way clear. There is a great chance for you to get what the Father has been holding out for you right now, in this room. Nothing needs to be done right now, not because the world is ending, but because it's quiet again. You may have been wondering for weeks if anyone was still praying with you. He paid attention. He has been hearing the whole time. This message finally got through tonight, not yesterday or next week. It's because your inner receiver, which became quieter when you were too young to understand what the world was taking from you, is now calm enough to understand what's being said. It's not just noise. This is how people really talk. We're going to reconnect you. Don't move. Now the message begins. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission grows into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. But more than your support, we want your presence. When you head to our community through the link in the description or the pinned comment, you aren't just visiting a site. You are entering a community of like-minded believers. This is a sanctuary where you can post your prayer requests, lift up the burdens of others, and engage in daily discussions with a family that speaks the language of faith. Whether you are joining one of our membership tiers for deeper study, sowing a seed of faith, or simply joining our daily morning prayers, you are helping us build a global altar of worship. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through a community that stands together. Each gift you give acts as living water for those in our community seeking healing and hope. Give, and it will be given to you, is the promise that sustains our shared mission. I invite you now to step out of the shadows and into this circle of prayer. Come with purpose, join the conversation, and plant your seed in fertile ground. Let's open the heavens together. Release your seed today. Join our community, and see what God brings back into your life. Things work in a certain way. There's always a way. There is a special link between the worlds you can't see and your ears, between your Father's throne and the calm place in your chest where His voice has always lived. And that link is going to open up again for you tonight. A long time ago, smart people had a word for what you are being asked to do now. In the old Hebrew language, the first word God usually said when He wanted to tell someone something important was Shema. In Old English, that word didn't just mean to hear with your ears. It means to listen and do what you hear, to listen and take it in, to listen with the part of you that was made to do what it hears. SHMA. This is what you need to do now. Don't just listen without thinking, really take it all in. The Greeks had 2 words for time, because they thought about it more deeply than we do. Chronos is the time that your watch keeps track of, and the time that your calendar shows. and Kairos, which is the unique, appointed moment, a turning point. The time when heaven decides to go against the normal flow of time, to get something done right away. It's not a Chronos emergency how you feel right now. Your plans are good. Things aren't going wrong in your daily life. What you're feeling is Kairos. The time that was meant to be for you, before you were even born. If anything about what I just said makes you feel calm, if even a small part of it has hit a spot that hasn't been used in a long time, please type, "I hear you," in the comments below. Don't do it for me or to show off. Do it to make a deal with your spirit and say yes to the part of you that just woke up. Type it for 10 seconds, then come back. You should know what you're getting into before I go any further. And if you listen all the way to the end of what I'm going to say, not the part where most people stop, 3 good things will happen to you. First, you'll get the right words to understand what's been wrong with your hearing. It won't just be general spiritual talk. You'll understand specific problems as soon as they're explained. Second, I'll give you 3 easy things you can do right now to start training your receptionist again. Not just thoughts, not someday, but right now. Third, you'll hear a truth that is almost never taught, and isn't really talked about in school. That's why people who are very religious and pray a lot can look for years and still feel like there's a wall. Something that has been held back for a long time will finally come out when you hear it. Stay put. Because of what's inside, this had to be sent to you very quickly, because it could not be sent any other way. Pay attention to where you are right now. Not just in your mind, but also in your body. When no one is looking, the room around you is just going about its business. There could be a light in the corner that's been on for a long time. There may be a feeling of stillness against the walls that you haven't let yourself feel in a long time. It's possible that the only sounds are your breathing and the soft hum of whatever is moving the air where you are sitting. Keep the room just the way it is. There's something else going on below the room's surface. There's the steady low hum of every unfinished task, every conversation that didn't quite end right, and every feeling that isn't quite right, but that you haven't had time to name. For the past few months, that background noise has been all you can hear. It's been there for so long that it stopped being noise, and started to feel like the room itself, so you might not have noticed it. Besides all that background noise, there's a special signal that has been trying to get through to you for weeks. It knows your name, and has been waiting for just the right moment of quiet to do so. You can hear that signal right now. It's the broadcast that you see. Here is the first part of what's been going on, and the first problem that's been stopping you from getting it. For a long time, you've been listening to the wrong channels to hear God. That's not meant to make you feel bad. The channels you've been using are the ones you were taught. You were told to open your Bible app again, if you can't hear Him clearly. You ought to read another daily reading, listen to another podcast, or hear another sermon. It sounds like you should pray a little louder and with more feeling. That's right. The app is open, 3 verses are read. And then it's closed because nothing stuck. You start to preach, but after 40 seconds, your mind goes to something else. There are times when you pray, and the words seem to just bounce off the ceiling and come back to you. And the thought that you don't say out loud, but is slowly taking over your mind, is that maybe the problem is you. Your faith might not be strong enough. You might not pray enough. Perhaps God has decided that He no longer wants to talk to you. Pay attention, that conclusion is wrong. God's voice isn't silent when there is static. If your receiver is static, it means it is set to the wrong frequency. The Bible still has the same power to guide us as it did last year. It's not worse than the sermon. Your prayer isn't too little. There is damage to the receiver itself, and that is what we need to talk about. This harm shows up in your daily life in this way. You're having waves of emotions that you can't explain. After an hour, you feel a strange calm. You feel a wave of sadness that comes out of nowhere for the next hour. After an hour, hope comes back, but you don't know why. The first thing most people think when they feel this way is, "What's wrong with me?" Do not miss what I am about to say. There is nothing wrong with you. This is something that your receiver hasn't done in years. It's trying to get used to things. The waves don't mean you're not stable. The waves show that the adjustment is taking place. It's worse when this damage shows up in a different way. The spiritual places that used to help you, like worship music, small groups, and Sunday services, as well as the habits that used to make you feel good, are starting to feel far away. It's not because they changed. They're still the same. They are becoming more open to something deeper. Your old frequencies, the ones that made you feel safe, comfortable, and like they were enough, no longer match what is being sent to you. That's not giving up faith. That's not you getting lost. That means your hearing is getting better, and you can hear channels that you couldn't hear before. There is a deeper layer below these patterns. It's a hidden current. What is going on there is another part of the same problem. There's a bigger problem going on underneath, how you've been trying to hear. It's not just the channels you try to listen to that are changed by your receiver. It changes who you are inside. It changes how you feel. Even when you're not listening for anything important. That's how it looks. You may have noticed that your emotions don't move in a straight line these days. They move in waves. 1 minute you have an ache that you can't place. The pain goes away after 5 minutes, but something else comes in its place. A longing for a place you can't name. Another day goes by, and all of a sudden, while doing something completely normal, like walking to your car or opening a drawer, you feel like you might be wondering about something. It only lasts for a second though, and then it's gone. If you already know this, please listen, you are not unstable. We're not seeing you fall apart. That's good news. When a receiver that has been turned off for years starts to work again, the first signals almost always come through as raw emotion before they become words. It's not the waves' fault. The waves show that something alive inside you that was sleeping is now waking up. That's not all. This layer can also show up in your mind. Sometimes, when it's quiet, your thoughts have been louder than usual. Your mind starts racing right when you sit down to pray. When you finally have a chance to be still, and when your body finally starts to relax, your list of things to do screams. It plays back old conversations. You have new worries after you thought they were gone. A lot of people think this means they're not good at praying. Listen up, they're not bad at praying. The noise in your mind is your instinct to stay alive, fighting to take over. The more your mind talks during quiet times, the more likely it is that something quieter is trying to get through. Like almost 600 years ago. Because someone else went through what you're going through now, and the story of how it broke open is written down. Daniel, the prophet, had a lot on his shoulders. People from his group were living in exile. He had prayed for a long time for understanding, but heaven had been quiet. He did the only thing he knew how to do. Rich foods stopped being good for him. He stopped putting oil on his skin. He didn't say a word for 3 whole weeks. It took 21 days of waiting for heaven to answer. On the 21st day, an angel came into his room and told him something very important. The angel replied, "The words I am bringing to you came forth the very first day you decided to seek understanding." They were on their way for 21 days. Something in the unseen world was holding them up. Daniel waited for 21 days. It had been 21 days since the message was sent. It hadn't come yet, not because God hadn't spoken. The channel was being fought over, that's why. Type 21 days in the comments below if you've been struggling with something for the past 3 weeks that you can't quite put your finger on. It should be something that's been on your mind and in your heart. Just those 2 words, not for me. For your spirit to remember the time in your life when you stopped carrying it by yourself. Type it for 10 seconds, and then come back to me. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke, it is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description, or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself, Jesus says. This is not history, it is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. I want to be open about what I'm about to do next. There is honor in truth. So, 2 names need to be called out into the room before more of this message can be read. Not because the end is the best time to say them, but because truth should be named when it is being talked about. The waves of emotion, the racing mind in quiet times, and the fight or flight instinct trying to stay in charge are all caused by 2 different frequencies. And there are 2 different tools that can be used to target each of them. There are several ways to heal your brain. There are 2 steps to it. The frequency that went quiet when you were a child needs to come back to life. You need to open the other one that you closed when you turned 18. The first one is called genius. A neuroscientist named Dr. Robert Lake made it. The wave makes you feel like a kid again. The wealth signal is the name of the second one. A former neuroscientist at Stanford named Dr. Stephen Newton made it. It is the wave that lets you connect. The order is important. To start, The child inside needs to wake up. The reception then starts, and the channel that was promised to her finally comes on. There are 2 waves, 1 sequence, and 1 restoration. The links are below this message, in the description, and in the pinned comment. If you're already interested in what was just named, there is no need to make a choice right now. The links are still open for people whose spirits are already talking. In the same breath that you named those 2 paths, another truth starts to show itself. Because the names aren't the gift. You can think of the names as placeholders. What comes next is the real gift. The third part of the diagnosis is something that not many people talk about. The third pattern is the one that most people don't understand, because it doesn't seem like a problem. Part of the reason you haven't known what to do with it is that it feels like a gift. Recently, you've had more dreams than usual, and the ones you remember are more clear than before. Some of them feel almost more real than the real world. Some you forget the specifics of by morning, but the feeling stays. You know, feel, or think that something was just shown to you, but you can't put it into words. 333 on a clock you happen to look at, and 1111 on a receipt, are both the same numbers that keep showing up where they shouldn't. You have been having sudden ideas that are right. You were thinking about someone, and they called you in an hour. Whenever you were about to make a choice, a clear voice in your chest told you, no, and you couldn't argue with it. You're not crazy if this is really happening to you. The line is open for you. Things are being said through bits and pieces. You have that special signal again. What's wrong is that you don't get it. The message is getting to you, but you can't figure out what it means. You wake up from the dream, but you don't know what it meant. When the number shows up, you don't know what it wants. When the sudden thought hits you, you're not sure what to do with it. A lot of people have been coming to visit for weeks, but most of them just pass through you, without really becoming a part of you. Like when it rains on a roof that can't catch the water. A woman in her mid-40s sat in her car, in a parking lot for 22 minutes after a long day at work 3 weeks ago. She saw a message that she hadn't seen in almost a month. Afterward, she told a friend that the only reason she finally gave up was that she had nothing left to lose. She heard everything, and wrote one line in a notebook she hadn't opened in years when she got home that night. The line said, "I've been receiving the whole time, I just didn't have anyone to translate." That's so true for you. Pay close attention now. It's not that you don't believe, because you can't understand the message. It's not that you're doing something wrong. It's not that you weren't picked. You've been getting messages on a frequency that was meant to help you stay alive, not to get divine messages. You can't use the same tool for both tasks. 2 specific frequencies inside you have been taken over. For different reasons, each one blocks the channel. And you can't reset them until you can name them both. And see them clearly enough to see them in your own life. And you have to be able to name them. Before I tell you what else I have to say, let me show them to you both in a clear way. What if, though, the reason for all this is older than you think? If it began before you forgot how to listen, what would happen? The cause goes back further than you think. You did remember how to listen before it started. By the time you were 7, most of this damage was already done. Try to remember who you were when you were 5, 6, or 7 years old. Before, life taught you what questions you couldn't say out loud. Before you learned that adults didn't like it. When you knew things you couldn't explain. You used to say something you felt in your chest when people asked you. How do you know? But now you know you have to be able to prove it. If you look at a little kid for a long time, you'll notice something that adults almost never notice. They learn all day without getting tired. They don't think it's silly to wonder. They don't need proof to believe. They believe what they hear without any doubt. That great state isn't just how someone is. That state is a noise level. Around age 7, the world starts to slowly turn it down. It's a brainwave that all children have at full power. It does not happen all at once. Little lessons help it happen. The teacher who told you not to think about other things. Someone in your family who laughed when you said something you felt, but couldn't put into words. The classroom where you could always tell if someone was right or wrong. You never knew something deep down. At each of those times, the volume went down a bit. That frequency was pretty much turned off by the time you were a teenager. By the time you were 30, you had forgotten that it was ever yours. People who study this in the field of neuroscience have a name for this pattern. They can see and measure it. They call it a decline that starts when you are a child and goes on quietly for the rest of your life. Unless you do something that turns on the original signal. Now we have our first problem. When you were a child, your receiver was set to be the most open. Before you could even say what was being taken away, the world dulled it. You've thought that this less sensitive version of yourself is who you are all your adult life, because it was dulled so slowly. It's not who you are. It's what you were taught to be. What's the second problem? The first problem wouldn't have turned off the channel all by itself. The first issue only muted the first signal. The whole thing was blocked by the second problem. Life changed the main frequency when you turned into an adult. You had to be constantly alert and look for problems. It was like a steady low hum of just trying to get by. You are not to blame for this frequency. It's not a moral flaw. That's what happens to your nervous system after having to deal with losses. Pay bills, raise kids, keep marriages together, read the news, and take in 1,000 small fears every single day. One part of your brain learned to always be on the lookout for danger, which is very smart. You can't turn that part off. Not even when you close your eyes or try to pray. Pay close attention, because that survival frequency will help you stay alive. It's what kept you safe when everything seemed risky. It helped you. It's not a bad thing. But that frequency isn't good for hearing God. There is a different frequency for the signal from God, which is the quiet, gentle voice and the language of the receiver inside you. There is a quieter one that needs the noise of survival to die down before it can come through. The divine channel can't be heard as long as the survival channel is in charge. Not because God isn't talking, but because you have the wrong station on your radio. That's why your prayers have seemed like nothing. So, reading the Bible hasn't seemed to land. That's the reason for the silence. The whole time, your receiver was on the wrong channel. You kept your faith. You were still picked. You didn't get lost. Inside, the gear was using the wrong frequency. There was no way to change the channel no matter how hard you pressed the same buttons. Take a moment to slow down, because we covered a lot of ground. It's getting into your body whether you know it or not. There's a difference between trying harder and being still long enough to be retuned. This is something that people often miss on spiritual journeys like these. The try harder path was the only one you were given for a long time. Say more prayers, read more, show up more, have more faith. You may have already done all of those things. You may have done it for a long time. Do not be afraid to hear what I have to say. The try harder path wasn't wrong. It wasn't the whole path. In the end, it made you truly loyal. One reason you're still here, listening, and hungry is because of this. But loyalty by itself couldn't fix what the world dulled, and what survival hid. Something else was needed for that work. Our work at the moment is still that. There is nothing you need to do right now besides breathe. Your hard work isn't what's making this work. The only thing that makes this work is that you stay. There's one more thing I need to tell you. Before I give you the 3 practices and the tools that will retrain your reception. This part is barely ever talked about in school. How come even the most devoted, prayerful Christians can spend years on their knees and still feel that static? Something will be let go when you finally hear it. You can use the first practice right now, in this very moment. The next time you want to scroll past something, a soft, quiet voice will tell you not to. The first move is known as the 60-second override. Once you feel something stirring inside you, your instinct is to pray more, get your Bible app, and do something right away. This is an instinct that you have learned. For 1 minute, the 60-second override will not let you do any of those things. You stay where your body is at all times. Nothing changes. You don't change the way you're sitting. You can't close your eyes if they're not already shut. You just stay where you were when that feeling hit for 60 seconds without moving. This works because of how living things work. The survival frequency is all about doing things and moving around. It's set up to do something. It starts to lose control of the channel as soon as you don't give it anything to do. And in that brief moment of silence, the receiver below can be heard for the first time. This is what happened when Elijah, the prophet, went up the mountain. The wind came first, but God wasn't in it. Then there was an earthquake, but God wasn't there. After that, there was fire, but God wasn't there. The voice didn't come until everything that was making noise had stopped. A soft, quiet whisper came from the voice when nothing else was calling for attention. Your way of letting the wind, the earthquake, and the fire pass is to do nothing for 60 seconds. The second practice is what you do after the brief moment is over. The second method is the 3-layer listen. This is because most people who try to hear God only hear the first 2 layers, which they think are God. The survival voice is on the top level. This first layer is loud and asks, what if this doesn't work? What if I'm wasting my time? What if I'm falling behind? What if I never figure this out? This first part moves quickly. There is never a need for this first layer to sound like an emergency. The second level is the religious voice you've learned. You should be praying right now. You should be reading right now. You should be more grateful. You should be doing more. This second layer sounds spiritual. It has religious words in it. It could even read from the Bible to you. But in my heart, it's still the voice of duty, not the voice of the Father. What's under both of them is the third layer. The third layer is not as loud as the first two. The third layer doesn't tell you what you should do very often. Most of the time, the third layer tells you who you are. The third layer only says a few words at a time, and then stops to see if you heard it. The first two layers are all most people hear, and they think that the first and second layers together make God's voice. It doesn't. You can only find the third layer, the real channel, by recognizing the first two, giving them names in your mind, and then setting out to listen below them. For those 21 days Daniel did these things. He didn't just skip meals. He skipped over layer 1 and layer 2's noise long enough for layer 3 to finally show through. This third practice is all about time. When most people try to listen for God, it's not the right time of day. The third practice is about figuring out when you naturally have the most time to receive. That time for most people is between 400 and 5:30 in the morning. Before you say anything, listen to me. I'm not asking you to wake up at 400 a.m. every morning. In the early morning, when you're still asleep, your brain is in a state between sleeping and waking. Your survival frequency hasn't fully turned on for the day yet, and your nervous system is in the most open state it will be in for the next 24 hours. It's not just a guess, this is science. Your cortisol level is one of the lowest it has ever been. There are different brainwave states that your brain is slowly going through. The static has been very low all day. During those 40 to 90 minutes, your receiver is wide open. In Mark's words, Jesus rose a great while before day to pray for this very reason. That's not all. He wasn't just more responsible than everyone else. The hour he used was when the receiver was clearest. Getting up between 300 and 500 in the morning, sometimes for no clear reason, and sometimes feeling like something woke you up, doesn't mean you're not getting enough rest. You are being asked to come into this window. A lot of people just turn over and try to sleep again. A lot of people miss it. If this keeps happening to you, write pre-dawn in the space below. Just those two words. That's not because typing them makes magic happen, but because typing them down is your way of telling your spirit that you've seen this pattern, that you won't ignore the 3 a.m. wake up call anymore. This is what you do: the 60-second override, the 3-layer listen, and the window before dawn. Tonight, in this room, with just your willingness, pay close attention, because the next part is very important. It doesn't work as well as it should if the receiver is still too dim. Static will still come through even if you sit in that 400 a.m. window every morning for a year. This is because the equipment inside is still running on the wrong frequencies. It is a real thing. The practice is important. However, practicing with a broken receiver will still cause broken reception. What I'm going to say next is something that almost no teacher ever talks about. If you're still with me, let me tell you what we have actually found. You came here to get a message from God right away. You knew in your heart that He was trying to tell you something. That's what you found. You can't get the message until the receiver is fixed. There was a survival frequency over the receiver when you were a child, and a dimmed receiver when you were an adult. The message was always on its way. That person just couldn't catch it. We talked about two specific frequencies that were blocking the channel. The stress signal going off, and the child's mind becoming less clear. The 60-second override, the 3-layer listen, and the pre-dawn window are three practices that can help you tune in again. Now we get to the truth that almost no teacher ever says out loud. Practice alone doesn't fix hardware. The exercises are good. The habits are important. But you can only practice so much with a broken receiver. This is for the person who has worked for years, but still can't hear clear. This is for someone who has tried more devotionals, programs, discipline, and meditation, and is now ready to admit that faith was never the problem. The problem was the frequency. You need to know who you are in this before I tell you what was found to fix it. Because it wasn't by chance that there are tools for what we just talked about. They are there because you were meant to be that person. You were not born normal. You were born as a child of light, which means that both frequencies are strong and present. It was easy to feel curious, amazed, and able to see things that couldn't be seen. The ability to receive without trying, and to let what was promised to you come to you, was also fully open. You could pick up 2 channels at full strength. That's why the memories from the beginning, before you knew life was hard, are special. You weren't making it up. It was you who were that frequency. Not just one, but both lights in the world went out. Between the ages of 7 and 12, the first frequency was slowly turned down. The second one was skipped over when adult survival mode set in. And the way this time feels is because something inside you remembers. There is something inside you that wants what was once yours. 2 waves, both quiet, waiting to be brought back to life. A man wrote in a while back. He had 2 kids and was 43 years old at the time. He had faith for more than 20 years. He told us that his prayer life had been like talking into a closed room for almost 3 years before he found this. His mind was wandering. He was unable to remain. When he opened the Bible, his eyes would just fall off the page. He believed his faith was fading. For 7 minutes, he sat in a chair with stereo headphones on the first time. He tried what I'm about to tell you. He said that the first session didn't feel like anything big. Just like something was settling down. By day 14, something had changed that he wasn't sure how to explain. After 21 days, his wife asked him what was different about him. He still couldn't say it. That's what he said before he knew what he really meant. My hearing came back. The lowering of the child frequency that I talked about earlier is called something in the scientific community. Neuroscientists have measured it and named it the decline effect. You can see it. It can be measured. Before age 7, it starts and doesn't stop until something specific sets off the original signal again. A 7-minute audio file is what that man used and what fixed the channel for him in 21 days. It's not a meditation. This isn't a praise song, a specially made sound that goes for the exact frequency that made the world go dark. The name of it is the Genius Song. This is the first wave. The wave that makes you feel like a kid again. Brain entrainment is the term used by neuroscientists to describe how it works. It does something called binaural delivery. Stereo headphones put a little different sound into each ear. It makes a third frequency to make sense of these two slightly different signals when the brain hears them. It was that third frequency that was turned down. Over the course of a few weeks, the original activation starts to come back online after about 7 minutes each day. It's not possible to do this with normal speakers. Stereo headphones are the only way to do it, because the technology needs to send two separate sounds. Neuroscientist Dr. Robert Lake came up with it. He has worked in the field for 34 years. A lot of the research that went into it came from MIT, Princeton, Harvard, and other top research universities. It's not a guess. It's a scientific fact. It is easy to explain what it does. It stops the decline. It brings back the part of you that could learn without getting tired. The part that was free to wonder and hear things, that couldn't be seen without having any doubts. A great teacher said something a long time ago that almost no one really gets. A lot of people thought he was talking about a frequency when he said, "You must become like a little child to enter the kingdom." It's the Genius Song that takes you back to that rhythm. The kid inside wakes up. Inside you, a receiver tunes itself back to the channel it was set to from the start. When you get the Genius Song tonight, Dr. Lake might give you one more audio file after the first one. The young brain is its name. Many chosen ones who go further on this path use this sound to protect the child's mind after it has been healed, so that the world can't dim it again. It comes after the first one. Take it if your spirit says so. If not, the first one is enough. Lake spent 34 years writing about how the original frequency has been quietly turned down in modern life. This is the brainwave that runs when your brain is at its best for learning, insight, and intuition. He looked into it in a controlled setting. Thousands of people were used to measure it. He kept seeing the same pattern. There was a real decline effect. It was possible to measure the dimming. And the question that drove his career was whether it could be undone. After 30 years of study, the answer was yes. Years of dimming could be fixed by listening to stereo headphones for 7 minutes every day. But not through faith or willpower, it's through frequency. Something else is still there. Even when the child's mind wakes up, the decline effect starts to reverse, and your inner receiver turns back on. You become a child again, but the child inside you still can't get what's hers. The phone line is open. The sound is getting through, but the channel that lets what you hear be received, the channel that lets the divine flow come in the way it did when you were little, is still closed. The dimming is fixed by the Genius Song. The problem that is stopping the receiving is fixed by a second wave. The whole process is done by both waves working together. The thing that is stopping you from receiving has a name in research. There is a pattern in your brain that is called beta hyperactivity. Beta is the rate of survival. Beta is the frequency of always looking, always working, and always feeling a little stressed. These days, beta has grown so strong in the nervous systems of adults that it has taken over the frequency that it was meant to receive. This kind of overactivity is known as the stress signal by researchers. That's why you can't quite take it in when good things happen around you, or when prayers are answered. The signal is sending out. The receiver is getting closer. It can't be heard because of the stress signal. Another scientist, Dr. Stephen Newton, who used to work as a neuroscientist at Stanford, mapped the stress signal and found a way to turn it off. Among the places where he has done research are Boston University, Stanford, and others. He didn't depend on Dr. Lake's work to make his discoveries. There are two doctors and two different research paths. Both lead to the same conclusion. The 5-minute audio that Dr. Newton made is called the wealth signal. It has both the sound and a 9-word script from a very old spiritual tradition that is over 300 years old. That's something that neither of them does on their own. They make a way for what was promised to actually come through. This is the wave that lets the child inside come out. The genius song brings out the child in everyone. What was promised to her is opened by the wealth signal. Both are important. The order is important. For the child's mind first, then for reception. That great teacher told you a long time ago that you must behave like a child before you can receive the kingdom. Not many people realized he was talking about a series of frequencies. The second wave gives the first one a finish. The next thing that needs to happen is for the child inside him to be able to receive. The wealth signal is the tool that does this. A 5-minute audio file and a 9-word script for giving. The sound is meant to turn off beta, which is a stress signal, and get your brain back to its normal frequency. The 9-word script comes from a holy tradition that is more than 300 years old. When the sound plays and the words are spoken, they skip over the thalamus, a part of the brain that has become mentally stiff from years of survival mode. This part of the brain blocks signals that don't match the frequency it has learned to expect. It's tuned up by working with the audio and script together for 5 minutes every day. Dr. Stephen Newton, a former neuroscientist at Stanford, came up with it. Among other places, he has done research at Boston University, Stanford, Harvard, and other places. But he quit academia to put this work out there, because he didn't want to hide the results behind paid journals. It's been used by almost 20,000 people so far. The rate of refunds has stayed below 5%. Then, once the child's mind is clear again, it opens the door to receiving, not striving or earning, but receiving like a child receives a gift, without question or argument, with open hands. An old saying says, "Be like a child, and then you will receive what was promised." This saying can be found in almost all ancient wisdom traditions on earth. The wealth signal is the wave that makes it possible for you to receive again. Dr. Newton may give you one more audio boost after the first one, when you get the wealth signal tonight. It is known as the wealth signal accelerator. A lot of the chosen ones who go further on this path use it, because it goes deeper than the first one, and opens up much faster. It will show up after the wealth signal. Take it if your spirit tells you to. If not, the first one is enough. One last thing about both. Some people who really want to go the extra mile mix the wealth signal accelerator with the youthful brain. When these two amplifiers work together, they make the path that almost no one takes. You'll hear both of them after you get the original audios. The original audios are all that's needed. This mix is for people whose path needs them to go deeper than most. UCLA has been studying the stress signal for more than 10 years. The thalamus blocks reception. The beta oscillations are too high, and they cover the receiving channel. Through his work, Dr. Newton figured out the exact sound pattern that lowers beta dominance and raises what he called the alpha drawbridge. Things that were promised can finally cross over when the drawbridge goes down. There is evidence for the science. The mechanism works again and again. The daily 5-minute session is what makes it work. A woman wrote to us about a year ago. That day she was 38 years old. It took her years of daily prayer, years of therapy, and 2 retreats to do the spiritual work she told us about. Even when good things happened to her, she felt like she couldn't reach anything. She felt something loosen up in her chest that she hadn't even known had been tight after the first session of the wealth signal and the 9-word script. After 19 days, she got a phone call that changed her finances in a way she hadn't been praying for. The call wasn't what changed. She told us, "I changed. I could finally get it." Some of you may be asking the same questions that everyone else does right now. They deserve honest answers, so let me name them. "I've tried everything" is the first one. What makes this different? The truth is that the way it's done is different. The brain changes slowly from the inside out when you meditate, do yoga, or listen to healing sounds. It is from the outside in that brain entrainment and frequency calibration work. They show up in brain scans within minutes and are specific to sequences, which is something you haven't been able to get with anything else you've tried. It says, "This sounds too good to be true. Pay attention, the data is there." Brain scans can show this, tested in Stanford, MIT, and Princeton labs and found to work. Between the two, almost 38,000 people have used them. There is no change in the refund rate. You don't need to believe me. You need to look at what has been proven. This is the third one. The cost is not nothing for me. I would never treat that badly. It's okay if your budget only lets you go down the first path. If it lets the whole path go through, that is respected. Either one is fine. Over the course of a year, the whole path costs less than a few coffees a month. There is no subscription fee, and you can get your money back in 90 days if you don't like either one. The fourth question is the most important. Why do I need 2 things? Shouldn't just one of them do? What we've already talked about holds the answer. They aim for various frequencies. The genius song turns the child frequency back on after it has been dimmed. The overlay of the stress signal is turned off by the wealth signal. You can use 2 different tools for 2 different frequencies. The genius song is the only thing that wakes up the child inside her, but she still can't get what's hers. While the child is still asleep, the wealth signal is the only one that tries to open the line. This only partially works. Someone wise once told me, "You must become like a little child. Then you will receive the kingdom." A few people caught on that he was talking about the right order. First the child, then the receptionist. The two don't repeat, they come one after the other. There is a page with 3 options below this voice. The genius song alone, wave 1, the wave that wakes up the child inside, is the first choice for people who only need to start with restoration. If your child's mind has been pretty much asleep, read this. You might need to be reminded of who she was before anything else can happen. It's a well-known place to start. People who still have the mind of a child, and feel wonder in their daily lives, but can't reach for what is theirs should choose the second option. This is for those people who receive the wealth signal alone. Wave 2. The wave that opens the receiver. The third choice is the one that most chosen ones know is theirs both. The child's mind completely turned around. First, the genius song brought back the child inside her. Then, the wealth signal opened what had been promised to her. Both of them work better when used together. They do more than just add up. They bring back the spiritual gifts you were born with. The third path is what most people who come here choose, because they know deep down that they need both. It is harder to have half restoration, where the child wakes up but the receiving is still closed, than to have no restoration at all. If deep down you hear, door 3, that's your spirit talking before your mind can catch up. Pay attention. I want this to be clear without any stress. Every day that the stress signal is strong, you can't receive anything. Every day that the lights get dimmer, the child inside stays a little quieter than the day before. Over time, both get worse. Time isn't just there. This is what the fully restored version of you looks back at from some time in the future. Both waves are still alive, your child's mind is awake, and your reception is wide open. That story isn't made up. That's the person you were before life made you dull. The links below are the start of the first wave. Listen to this first before you look anywhere else. These names have been used on fake tracks on the web. The sound files are not the real ones. They don't have the distinctive setting. They don't have the technology to train your brain. They sound like any other sound. With the 90-day guarantee and all the bonuses, the only real way to get it is through the link in the description below the pinned comment. Take a moment. Take a deep breath in. Pay attention to the middle of your chest. This choice has nothing to do with money. This choice is about your path. Which door is mine? Which wave is calling me first? We honor all 3. They are all right. That one is known to your spirit. It has been talking to you in the background the whole time I've been explaining them. Believe what you're feeling. As you scroll down, you'll see a pinned comment with the 3 doors. The 3 doors are set up below this voice. It doesn't matter what wave or sequence calls to you. The way to get in is the same, the description and the pinned comment. Get into the one that's calling you. There's no need to hurry. There isn't any stress. The only door there is yours and is ready for you to walk through it. You are about to enter your divine future. But remember, this breakthrough is not for you alone. Your testimony is the bridge someone else will use to reach their own miracle. Archangel Michael is inviting you to visit community through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. By joining our like-minded community, you are no longer praying in isolation. You are adding your voice to a global sanctuary, where we discuss the Word daily, and stand in the gap for one another. This is not poetry when Jesus says, "Give, and heaven will open over you." On this platform, every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and a hedge of safety for your family. Now is your time. Step into our community prayer wall, share your heart, and as you give, watch God multiply what you let go of. Let's finish this journey together. Visit Out Community now, join the family, and see your heavens open. Do something with me in your mind, not with your body. Consider for a moment that you are inside a very tall tower. Something that looks like copper covers the tower's walls. The floor below you makes a soft hum. The ceiling should be up there, but the tower above you is open to the sky. There are no real walls around this tower. They are made of sound waves. This tower is your receiver. The walls of this tower were dark for most of your life. It had static, old fears, and old ideas about who you were and who was listening to you. Those things shouldn't have been there. Think of the static electricity rising up and out of the tower, like dust being shaken off of an old machine. It would rise through the open ceiling and out into space. The tower itself is gold, not the static. Stay in the tower for a little while. Take note that you are in the receiver. You are getting it. You have always been the tower. The signal from above is now steady. It's not loud or exciting, just clear. This is how it feels to be turned back on. From now on, this is what your life will sound like. Nothing that has been said in the last few minutes has anything to do with what I want to say next. Stay with me, because the reason you've been here for an hour is not a small one. You got here while scrolling. You stayed long enough for the show to end. People who pressed play an hour ago are not the same people who are sitting here right now. That's real. Before this voice goes quiet, let me get something from you. I let go of all the years I spent working harder on the wrong receiver. I let go of the thought that the silence meant I had left you. I let go of the survival frequency that has been running in the background of all my prayers. I let go of the dull version of yourself that you thought was the real you. It no longer makes me feel bad that I can't hear when you've been faithful the whole time. You weren't allowed to keep these. They were not the Father's voice. They were just noise that seemed like the truth. Let them fall off. Listen to what is really yours instead of what they say. You can pick up frequencies, born to receive, not to seek. You watch over the wall. This time, not the last, you were given the gift of being able to hear. You are the one who is awake. You are no longer going to sleep, because the child inside you woke up. You are a child of the voice of the Father. The link is now live again. You can read the message. You are no longer stuck on static while you wait. Hold on to this for a little while longer. Do not move yet. What was just said should stay where it is. It's ready to go. It's easy to watch. You have the voice. Just one more thing before this voice stops. Because you stuck around for this. Not because of me. but because you agreed to in your spirit. Something has changed in the world we can't see. Once this hour is over, a new season will begin, which you will begin to notice in the next few days. Keep an eye out for it. The first signs will be small, like a clear answer to a choice you've been putting off, a name on your heart that you haven't thought about in months, or a door opening where there used to be one. Mark it for when it takes place. That's the broadcast going on. You're not the same person you were before you hit play. Your radio is now on. What you remember can't be taken back. Type, "I received the broadcast," in the comments below if the connection was restored tonight. You signed your name with those 3 words, which served as your seal, and as a reminder of the time when something came back online in your own life. Use "like" as your Amen. Let that be the signal that sends this message to the next watchman, whose receiver is ready to be turned back on, and stay in touch. More messages are coming through this door. I can already hear the next word the Father has put on my heart. Keep in touch so it can find you when it lands. It's still there in the description, and the pinned comment for those who felt drawn when the 2 doors were first named. But only if your spirit agrees. There is one more thing to do before this ends. During my speech, I thought of someone. It's possible you didn't notice. It happened in the background of your mind. Someone who has been asking for help for so long that they no longer think they will get an answer. Someone who wakes up every morning between 300 and 500 and has no idea why. Someone who is quiet and has been the strong one in their family, but is now empty. Someone else who almost couldn't stop scrolling tonight. Send this to them. Not as a suggestion, but as something that had to be done. The broadcast might finally reach them now that you're sending this. Following through with what you say could be the answer to a prayer they said last week but have since forgotten. And to those who stayed. Before we get to the end of this powerful story, let's reflect on this deep truth. You did not find this message by accident. This is a divine appointment meant specifically for you. You are being invited into a protected, faith-filled community at the link in the description, and pinned comment, a place where divine abundance is not just a hope, but a promise built on the Word. By heading to the site right now, you are unlocking access to a sacred community of like-minded believers. When you join our membership tiers, you gain immediate entry to powerful content, daily devotions, and divine insights that are hidden from the world. This is your chance to enter a sanctuary where you will receive spiritual guidance, unwavering support on our prayer wall, and speedy progress toward your destiny. Do not let this moment of destiny pass you by. Your breakthrough is waiting. Join our inner circle through the exclusive link in the description. This is how you guarantee you never miss the personalized messages and spiritual warfare tools meant to elevate your life. If you feel called to deepen your connection, the link is waiting for you in both the pinned comment and the description. For those who want to amplify this work and carry the light home, you can find our guided ebooks and Bibles in the pinned comment. Whether you join as a member or sow a seed through our resources, your presence and energy change the world. Take the step. Your abundance awaits.